the one with the mustache? Where is that person? Hi, everybody. How are you? Good afternoon. Good evening? Good all the things? Hello. How are we? How's everybody's weekend gone? How's everybody's week gone? I mean, it wasn't like we haven't skipped a week yet, right? I didn't lose you. It feels like forever ago since we've done this because, well, so much has happened since then. But really, nothing. Like, not much time has passed. We've been on schedule. Like, I'm actually very proud of myself. I'm proud of all of you for showing up. I'm proud of it all. It's pretty great. Hi everybody, how are you? Testing 1 2 coming in. This is the first time I've actually streamed since I've been back. So where are we feeling? Where are we feeling? How are we feeling? How are we doing? There's a lot going on in the next, I don't know, couple months, but there's a lot that just happened in the last like week or two. So there's quite a bit out in the streaming world that we can talk about. We talked a little bit about it last week. Actually, we talked a lot about it last week, but for those who don't know, I was gone. So was the StreamerSquare team, actually. We were gone to GuardianCon, which, for those who may or may not know yet, it's sort of semi-public. Because it's very public, but we haven't really talked about it in any major outlets yet. No longer called GuardianCon. No longer called GuardianCon. GuardianCon is the past. GuardianCon is the past. The future is Gaming Community Expo. GCX. Gaming Community Expo. Something that we'll be talking about quite a bit in this episode, actually, for a lot of different reasons, right? Because for those who don't know, welcome. By the way, my name is Dan Otage, and you're in Dan's Stream of Thought. Yes, you're in my Stream of Thought because that might as well be the space that you leave yourselves in like throughout this show, because you will be inside my head as much as I can possibly bring you inside my head. I'm very good at just talking about things, but not in any type of digestible way. So there's a whole lot of reason why we bring up questions. That's why I can encourage everyone in here to ask all the questions that we need to do. And so we're going to be talking about GCX, Gaming Community Expo, and talking about the GuardianCon that just happened. We'll be talking about all sorts of things based around streamers and YouTubers and content creators and how they are very much community leaders. Now, as we know with every episode of this show is not about streamers only. It's not about the community only. It's not about the industry professionals that do all kinds of developing and publishing only. It is about everybody. It's about the people who wish to or have already become professionals in this gaming industry. There's so many ways that you can become a professional in this industry, and we try to cover all the bases there. This is a very specific type of episode where we'll be talking about community leaders and what it actually is that they are. What is a community leader? Who can give me like a nice wrap up to what a community leader is? First of all, then we'll say hi to everybody. So get that going, and then we'll say hi to everybody. Hi, Adorkableem. Hi, Wes. Hi, Wiggler. Hi, Chef Hazmat. Hi, Little Lotus. Hi, everybody. How are you? Welcome in, everybody. I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Again, we're going to go over a few things today, but like I said, we're going to focus it around something that's just happened that's relevant to everybody. And hopefully, if you listen to this a little bit later, it'll still be relevant to you because it hopefully will be happening for at least the next decade. So, what is a community leader? Well, to break it down and to be easy about it, it's literally somebody who who gives the idea of a leader and a sort of a person that is forefront of an idea, whatever that idea might be, and the person who sort of who drives that home into the rest of the community. Now, there are all sorts of people that can fit into this role, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a content creator. It can be somebody within an industry. It can be a community manager. It can be a host of a TV show, which is kind of a content creator, but a host and somebody who creates all the content are a little bit different. Who else could it be? It could be the CEO of a company who may hop onto a stream every now and then, who may be live in the forums, who may be controlling the Twitter, or whomever it may be that runs their own Twitter account and shows what it is that they want their community to be. Now, let's define what a community might be. A community comes down to a few different things. A community can be a group of people that are gathering under one idea, which tends to be the general consensus of what a community might be. But for the most part, a community falls under a lot of different things, and that's why we generalize it to legitimately just a group of people that falls under a general idea. But we also have a few things that just have something in common for what a community might be. So we have video game communities where right now we can talk about what started Guardian Con, which used to be Destiny Community Meetup, which is now Gaming Community Expo. What is that? What is that? How did that start? That started because of an idea behind a game and a general playerhood behind a game. A community dabs together. Oh my goodness. I'll let Loco talk about the adventures that we all got up to in Florida, but we had some good adventures, and we did some cool stuff. We had a lot of cool things that happened in Orlando this past weekend. GCX being one of them, or Guardian Con throughout the entire event is what it was called. And back to part of that, and what that is you may be able to get a group of people together that like a certain thing. They may not have the same ideas. In fact, you can probably gather that not everybody from the Destiny community thinks roughly the same. Now, we don't really need that. We don't necessarily need somebody to be able to under a certain idea, because then you start to delve a little bit into cults and proverbial cults and whatever it is that it might be, drinking the Kool-Aid and whatnot. We don't want any of that. That doesn't necessarily come down to those types of things. Oh my God, who's going to detention? Who am I gonna have to send to the principal? I'm not sending anybody to the principal today. Please don't make me do this. My first stream back. It's not even on. It's gonna be weird, okay? It's gonna be weird. Let's all calm down. I don't want to feel like the substitute teacher in my own classroom. Can we please? That's the first stream back. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that I want to talk about. In fact, we're gonna keep it super chill today and kind of say, hey, let's just kind of reminisce over what it was that Guardian Con was this weekend. And again, we can define all these things over and over again, but it all comes down to somebody coming together under something, whatever it is. There's a Twitch community, right? What is the Twitch community? It could literally just be people that watch Twitch. It could be people that make an effort to go to TwitchCon. It could be people that generalize in a certain type of theme on Twitch, right? What is a Twitch community? A Twitch community could be the top tier of, not top tier, but the ones who watch the most popular streamers. And what do the most popular streamers do? They tend to do similar things, right? If I'm a viewer who watches the people who only play Apex, am I under the Apex community, or am I under the Twitch community that watches Apex? Those are two different things too, and those sometimes have to be delineated between each other because they are different, right? They are very different in so many different ways. If I'm a Twitch viewer that watches Apex Legends, I understand sort of the memes that happen in chat. I understand some of the streamers and what they do and how they develop their own jokes and memes and ideas and personalities and stuff like that. I may be somebody who streams it and understands that how I interact and how people interact with me while I stream them. But if you're part of the Apex community, you're more than that, right? You may be part of the Twitch part, and you may not be. You're a person who plays Twitch. You're a person who thinks about plays Apex. That thinks about what Apex is and the metas and the balances and the weapons and the ideas, and you read some of the news. Every now and then you may pop into a stream, but you may not be part of that Twitch community or that Twitch Apex community. You might just be part of the Apex community. So these things are different, right? Now, the lovely thing just happened in Orlando, Florida, and that is Guardian Con, or was Guardian Con, now GCX. And one of the biggest things is that community was led by leaders. And who were these leaders? Well, it was up to a few people, but they developed it into a larger group of people that became these leaders, right? So it all started with a few different people, and actually only started with a couple people. You have, King Athalion and Professor Broman, who's like, hey, we should just do a Destiny meetup and see what happens, right? And then you have K Magic, who shows up and says, hey, do you want to do a bigger convention? I know how to do this. And they start to grow together, and they start to get a bunch of things. Now you have the three owners of Rare at that point, which is, like I said, King Athalion, Professor Broman, and Kevin, K Magic 101. Now, does that make them the only community leaders of this idea? Not necessarily. One of the things that they did that used their power to was to kind of get their peers together and get part of their community together and say, hey, let's all lead this as one. Obviously, when you come to business terms and legal matters, everything changes. Everything falls under a different definition. But for the most part, that was the difference in what those community leaders did, is they said, hey, we need other community leaders to be part of this. So instead of it becoming a Destiny convention, or Destiny community convention, it became a video gaming community convention. So it took all the community leaders from all across the streaming platforms to come together and actually bring their communities and a lot of things together, and their fans and their friends and their parents. There were parents there and their children there. There was that too. And it brought them all together to develop a larger community of a bunch of different leaders together. Now, what did that show to the industry as a whole? Well, it showed that community leaders have probably the most power that you can ever ask for in this industry, right? Because no matter what's going on out there, community leaders will find their community. No matter what game they're playing, no matter what category on Twitch or YouTube or Facebook they're streaming under, no matter how they're creating content, they will find their community. They will find a way to develop something. A lot of these people, and then again, like I said, they don't have to be streamers. They could be other people on Twitter, but they've gathered these people together and they've created a home or a place, a banner, if you would, to kind of rally underneath, right? What made them rally underneath that? Well, it could be many things. That doesn't really matter. That part is irrelevant. Right? No matter what's going on, that part is irrelevant. Why are they coming together to delve under this idea? It doesn't matter in this circumstance. It can if you want to get into the nitty-gritty and the weeds as to, how do I get these people to do things together? It's fine. It all happens, but in the end, what does it mean? What does it mean to have this community? Well, it just means you have a big group of people that follow a community leader. And that doesn't mean, I know I brought it up earlier, like cult leader and stuff like that, and cults and whatnot. And, you could kind of see it as that. There are a lot of similarities, except for the fact that they don't necessarily do anything that is evil, at least for the most part. Sometimes they do. That's why it's part of being responsible as a community leader, and what it is what kind of impact you do or that you make towards this industry. Now, let's take exactly what happened this weekend, Now, I know we brought that up a couple times, but let's actually look at like what became of it. The most interesting thing, and probably, I'll tell you right now, it's probably a good trick. Maybe it's not a trick, but it's a good tactic to get a lot of people to rally under something. And it's not just Destiny, even though that was kind of the big threshold to what started it all. Destiny brought a lot of people together, but what kept these people together? It's probably not Destiny. There's a lot of people that ended up complaining and not really liking the game itself after a while. Destiny 2 didn't really launch very well. It had a long time of hiatus of good content for a lot of people. I don't know. I didn't really play Destiny, but this is the consensus of what I've heard. And for a long time, Bungie wanted nothing really to do with Guardian Con. So it wasn't really the game itself. What did it become? Well, we found a reason to rally, and that was to help the kids of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, right? Now, who's to say that without partnering with St. Jude and Play Live and stuff like that, who's to say that that was going to be anywhere near, or even anywhere not near, the success that it is today? Nobody really. We can't really tell different alternate timelines. We're not, Doctor Strange. We are not the keeper of time, right? Or whatever he is. There's no one to say really what that is. But you can say that there is a big reason, and you're able to bet on the fact that partnering with a group that helps these kids and cures cancer is a big and usually easy way to make sure that no matter what happens, there is always something to fall back on, and to why, not fall back on, but there's always a reason to say, hey, this is why I'm part of this community and why I want to continue to help, right? You have any relation to Doctor Who? Yes. Actually, I never really put that together, but that's actually a good point. I think they do. Because time and stuff. Except for, does Doctor Strange actually travel in time? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You got me sidetracked on something I'm interested in. But the biggest part is like saying, okay, what if Destiny fails? What happens? What happens to our meetup? What happens to our convention? Well, it doesn't matter, because we have something that nobody can ever say is evil or wrong, right? Now, it could be argued that, hey, well, you're only partnering with St. Jude because, well, it makes you guys look fantastic. Sure, you can say that. You can absolutely say that. You can also say that we help kids because we hate adults. I mean, you can say many different things, right? None of those are really true. But if you listen to some of the people that lead these communities, what do they say? Well, if we're going to create something big, because they already did, might as well put it towards something good, right? Because the first year of the Destiny community meetup it brought in like 1,000 people. Like, live event bringing in 1,000 people, that's pretty big for just a one-off. Just, hey, let's just see what this does and kind of check it out. And it's going to happen at this point. You guys can show up if you want to, whatever. We'll do it in a restaurant and it'll be all good. There's 1,000 people. That's huge. So there's nothing that says that they had to even really partner with anybody that is, beneficial to kids or any type of benefit, to be able to grow that to be even larger. There's nothing that says that. You can't get through that. That's fine. You can say that, hey, if we're going to make this bigger and actually have a purpose to this, well, it's probably a good idea that we do something like this. Let's actually go through and say, hey, well, we're going to have this anyway. Why not be even more beneficial to somebody who needs it, and do something that shows, hey, we can compound onto what we already have with a few other things. Now, a community leader could take that so many different ways, right? There's nothing that says that they don't do this just to make themselves popular. There are literally thousands of streamers out there that do charity for reasons that are for selfish reasons. Trust me, I've talked to these people. You don't have to trust me, actually. Just either take it or leave it. People do things based on charity to make them more popular, to get them more hits on something, to get them to get others to think that they are absolute angels because they do things like this. It happens, right? It happens all the time. And we have so many different things that say, it goes the opposite way, I should say. Not the opposite way in the sense that it, instead of doing nothing and then getting support from charities that you have a benefit there. No, I'm talking about opposite in the sense that people do use kindness and your kindness towards helping charities to be able to make themselves look a little bit better too, right? Hey, we want to get some work out of your community, and we want to be able to expose your community to an advertising scheme or whatever it might be, and we want to do it to benefit charity, which means we don't have to pay you anything. Because remember, that is something that happens all the time too. How you doing, Scientific Archer? How are you? That is worth their time versus streaming for themselves? How do you mean, Wes? I'm actually interested in that question. But there are companies that will take advantage for that because if you're doing it for charity, well, you're probably pretty eager to just volunteer, right? Probably eager to just volunteer. It may be for a charity, but there's somebody that is exchanging some type of money, and there's probably a benefit going to something else. Now, that's not always the case, but sometimes that does happen. So it's important to know what your power is and what your quality is as a community leader, as a leader on the community of whatever it is you might be. And any professional on this platform or any of these platforms should know this. And we're going to say this again. You do not have to be a content creator to be a community leader. It could be anybody. But let's talk about this in the perspective of a broadcaster or a content creator that, does this for a living, does it full time, like myself or Loco or Hunter. When we do this full time, you sort of have to realize what your time actually costs. Because if your time costs something, somebody has to pay for it, right? And if that is you donating your time to help a charity or a charitable cause, you are thus paying for that, or you are making a donation of time. Now, if this is something that you truly believe in, and you want to tell your audience that you truly believe in it, your community that you truly believe in it, it is important to understand that everything that you were saying, the messages that are coming from you to them, that do not have to be verbal, right? That's one thing that we try to talk about a lot in this show is communication is not always verbal. It's not always you directing one-on-one from you to your community by saying it, right? Sometimes and often, actually, probably more often than not, it is by your actions. Your actions are almost always the forefront of the messages that come from you to your community. So, if you take a lot of charitable jobs that don't pay you anything, that don't bring you things that can benefit you, and then you go to ask for subscriptions and tips and bits and all this stuff and financial support from your community, what does it tell them, right? What is you as a community leader, what does that tell them? That tells them that, hey, we want you to keep doing this job. We've supported you a ton. Maybe we can't support you to the point at which you need because you keep taking these things that are taking you to help, I don't know, something crazy. I was trying to think of like saying, hey, it was some rich kid's bar mitzvah, and since you did it for free and he has a cold, it means you did it for a charitable cause, which technically isn't wrong, but also doesn't really fit into the same category, right? I'm not saying anybody does that and then asks for other money, but sometimes that is something that you have to balance. And as a community leader, you have to tell your audience and the people around you that that's kind of what's going on. Now, if you want to spend all your time doing community type aspects and then asking your community to support you in the other ways because of whatever reason, maybe they just like the fact that you do all this stuff, that's fine. I don't see anything necessarily wrong with that, but you have to understand the message that you're telling everybody. Seems like the clout you gain from doing charity is less financially valuable than just streaming for yourself. That's complicated because we did talk about the fact that that is a possibility to weigh out those options of, say, I'm gonna take this charity drive and I'm gonna donate all the proceeds that we get from any subs or anything this month to the, the World Wildlife Foundation of Australia. Okay? First of all, that's probably not the greatest tactic because you don't really want the money to hit your hands and then go to charity, but that's something we'll cover on a charity broadcast or a charity episode. But that does say that instead of us doing things where you can donate directly to that cause, we want to maybe get attention while doing that. Now, again, everybody listens and hears things a little bit differently, and we all have different perspectives on all this, how all this happens. So none of this is ever black and white. In fact, most of the things I talk about are not black and white. They're coming from my perspective, and you're reading it from yours, right? Or you're listening it to you're hearing it from yours. So everybody kind of interprets things a little bit differently. Always understand that however you interpret it, you're probably right, right? And you are right. It is your perspective. It is your idea on something. Now, there are miscommunications that can happen where you may not understand my message, and that could come from doing two different things. Either your perspective said that it was a little bit different from what I was meaning, or I just didn't communicate it properly to the sense that you didn't really get what I was saying. Neither one of those are somebody's fault, but it does, or at least there's always a fault, but not negatively to the point at which you're doing something harmful to another. It's not really what's happening. So, when you bring up things where, yeah, you wanna say, hey, I'm gonna do something charitable at all times, and if you guys want to donate to that, great. But also, I'm gonna need you guys to, support me at the same time so that we can do both. You're asking for a lot, right? You're asking for a lot. That's why a lot of that's why there's months where these things happen. All of May is St. Jude Play Live prize packaging, so that when that's happening, so that say, hey, you get all this support all year long, and you want to say, hey, we've got this coming up. I'm gonna save up all the things that you guys have been supporting me with, and we're gonna save up, and then that way everything you guys support me with for the month of May goes straight to them, right? That's one way to do it. But if you go and say, hey, we're gonna spend all our time saying, hey, we're gonna do all our proceeds are gonna go to St. Jude, and it's gonna be all good. But also next month, that means we're gonna have to double our profits so that I can pay for 2 months of rent, right? You as a community leader are sending that message that you have not taken care of the support that your community has already given you, and you can lose a lot of trust that way. Again, that may or may not happen. Depends on who you are. Depends on your community. But the bigger process is understanding what that message might send, and it's often about being open and clear with what's going on to your community. Now, you don't have to be super disclosing of like what information should be out in your community, but you should also understand that the more you give, the more that they understand, but also the more muddied a message can be, right? Also, you have more confidence in what the message might be because you're literally saying it. Again, people understand that differently, though. It's all complicated, right? None of this is super clear. But the bigger point is, you as a community leader are always telling a message. That's it. No matter who you are, you're actually always telling a message. Whether you're in chat talking or not talking, you're sending a message, right? Now, if nobody knows you're there, you're sending a message by not sending a message. Does that make sense? If you're in a chat and you are within that community and you have, say, 300 hours in a community chat or whatever, and you come out and say something that may or may not be a little unnerving to a community leader. Hey, I don't like the way you said that. It sounds like you don't really know what you're talking about. How do I have any proof that you do know what you're talking about? Now, proof can come in many different ways. Yeah, you can show I have this many hours in here, but if you've never been interacting with that community, nobody knows that those hours are, whether those hours are quality hours or not. Now, quality hours can mean many different things. Whether or not you're chatting is one thing, but also you providing proof that you have been there listening the whole time is also rather important, right? Like, hey, I know I was there when this happened. I was there when this happened. I was there when this happened. I understand all these things. Now, hear me out. There's a good chance that that self-disclosure is going to get somebody to trust you a little bit more, but it all depends on the person and the community leader in general. But it is up to that community leader to necessarily make the decision on how they want to handle that. You as a community leader do a lot with that idea by saying, hey, I'm going to take this and we're going to accept whatever they're saying, or we're going to deny whatever they're saying. No matter what, you're sending that message too, right? I need you, by denying that message, you're saying that I need you to be actively interacting with the people in this community at all times, or at least very often, for me to really trust that you are speaking with integrity, right? We have a lot of people who tend to troll and things on this platform, so there's a lot of people that keep their guard up pretty high, and that's important. That's important to understand, right? So where do we want to go next with this? We can open up questions now if you want. We can bring in some questions. I'm going to be jumping all over the place, so if you want to be more focused on something, like, please just pop it in there. I had a friend do it that way. Only 50% of it went to the cause. It felt off to me. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too, is like, if you're going to take 50% of what people do to support the channel or to support whatever, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. The only thing you have to understand is that, like, we go back to the message that you're telling others, right? If you are going to take a certain percentage of something, you need to be very clear with it. Because your power as a community leader is threatened at that point, right? Your power is threatened at the point in saying, this can all go away if I am caught in a lie, or if I'm caught in a lie of omission, because that's usually what that is, right? It comes down to, hey, you guys can donate directly to the World Wildlife Foundation, or you can get emotes and you could sub to me for a month, and those the part of those proceeds will go to that. Now, you could say that. You could say part of the proceeds will go to that. And if somebody asks, then that's when you're sort of obligated to say what part, or not at all. But the more, I would say that the more open you are with it, the more trust you're going to get. But all these things are totally viable, totally fine, as long as you're understanding what it means to somebody. If I say, hey, if you donate, proceeds will be going to that. I didn't say part, I didn't say all proceeds, I didn't give any type of specific to that. And if nobody asks the question of, like, hey, what part are you talking about? And I give 50% of my profit to the people of, we're going to keep bringing it up because I love the WWF, the World Wildlife Foundation of Australia. If I say I'm going to give if I do give 50%, and then somebody sees that donation amount later and saying, hey, well, by my calculations, you only gave 50% of what you made, when you never really disclaimed what it was, what the percentage was. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. You never said that you were going, as long as you never said that you weren't going to give all of your profits, because then you can get in trouble for fraud very easily by saying all of my profits will be going to that, and that doesn't happen. That is fraudulent. But as long as you are somewhat vague about it, you're not going to get in trouble, but you will lose trust within that community. Your community will start to dwindle because the community leader cannot trust, or cannot be trusted by their community. So back to, like, GuardianCon and GCX event and stuff like that. Everything that has happened, everything that's been done has been open, and people are able to trust the people in line because, one, they've cultivated that community for years, for one, but for two, they know that, you know, a lot of them make all the money that they make go to one thing, and then all the money that they raise for charity goes to a different thing. They're completely separate, right? And that's probably the easiest way to keep clear with that. Is keep them completely separate, right? In fact, you can look at Gathalion and Broman streams and say, oh, how do I find the donation link to St. Jude? Well, you go to guardiancon.co/donate, right? You don't go to professorbroman.com/donate. No, you go to guardiancon.co/donate, right? They're different things. You don't go there anymore. That doesn't work. But they're different things. So, if you keep them separate, that is a good way to keep clear with your message. Usually, I would say that's the best idea for a lot of these things, and saying, if I keep everything in different buckets to where everybody can see the different buckets and they're clearly labeled as to what they are, you can then keep your trust as a community leader. And why is that important? That's what we're all waiting for. Why is this important? Why is this important? Because if you are a community leader and somebody else wants to use your community in some way, shape, or form to advertise, to utilize in a beneficial way, to do anything with, you have to make the decision for your community. Now, you don't have to make the decision and say, hey, you have to buy all this stuff because we have a sponsor who's paying us for you to buy stuff. You don't have to do that, but you do have to make the decision and say, hey, we're going to take this sponsorship because I believe that it is good for all of us. Now, if you say that is literally the message you're sending out by taking a sponsorship, by the way. Or not, because for some reason you've made it clear that you just do that to get paid. I don't know. That's up to you, but that doesn't go very far. That's not really a good long-term game. But you are sending that message and saying, hey, we believe that this is a good sponsor that our community will understand and like and maybe enjoy a little bit or enjoy a lot. And if it comes to say that the community does not like that, you have one of a couple options. You either made a mistake. It's like, oh, dude, I guess I didn't read it right. I made a mistake. That's my fault, right? That's perfectly viable. That happens all the time. I've done that before. We make a mistake. I thought it would work. It didn't. Okay, sorry. Better luck next time. A bunch of people spend a bunch of money on that product and ended up actually hating it. What does that mean? What does that mean? What is the definition of that? What is the message you send that way? Either people will think you lied to them by saying, hey, this is not what Danotage would have liked. Why is he saying he would have liked it? I have no idea. Why did he say that? I hate this thing, and I love most of the things that Danotage likes. Which is not true for the most part, but there's and then you branch off into another couple options. Well, do I just have a different opinion than Dano at this point, or did he actually lie to me? Now, you can always ask those questions. That's what makes a community, is it goes back and forth. It doesn't just go one way. One way is an audience. Two ways is a community, right? Most people on Twitch with a chat that read their chat becomes a community. There's an interaction between them. There's people that can talk to each other, right? Now, if the streamer never really reads anything from the chat, that's one thing. But if they have a bunch of people that are rallying under them and they're all talking to each other, that is a sort of community as well. Still in panel mode, hashtag ad. Yeah, hashtag ad is a disclosure in saying that somebody who may or may not know the community or know the broadcaster comes in and says, and here's for the first time, hey, you should buy this product. I think it's really good. Hashtag ad. What that hashtag ad tells somebody, it says, I am being paid by this company, or I'm given something in financial form from this company to say this or to say something like this. So it is up to you to understand that I am advertising, and if you don't like it, or you have second thoughts about the fact that I may or may not be being honest about whether or not I really like the thing, or whether I'm honest but biased and for it, you are no longer able to say, well, that person really liked it, and now I no longer trust this person saying that they can do everything they want, and they actually duped me. They duped me. They lied to me. They may not have lied to you, but they were, there may be other factors inflicting or afflicting that person when they're telling you this message. There's other things going on when you see that hashtag ad. That is the biggest part, right? I always felt that the streamers should make sure they're financially sorted themselves before doing charity streams. I know I wouldn't think any less of someone for not doing any charity streams. Right. I mean, yeah, think about it. If you can't pay your bills and you know that you're going to get a certain amount of subscriptions or bits or tips throughout that month that's going to make you break even, and you don't do a charity stream, that's fine. That is fine. That is absolutely okay. That is, there's nobody that should ever hold you responsible for doing something and calling you selfish for that, right? Oh, I'm because it always comes down. And I'll tell you right now, any charity that I've professionally and personally worked with will tell you the same thing. If you can't fundraise for us because you got to pay bills that you need to live on your own to do whatever it is that you might need to do, don't do it. Right? Don't do it. Get yourself financially stable, or at least somewhat financially stable for like a month or two, and then maybe do something with us. We want your help, but we also don't want you to have to ask for help because you're helping us, right? Nobody would, no charity worth a damn would ever want that. But yes, that's part of it. Hey, what's up, Blicken? How you doing, man? Also, says legal implications. Right, it does. S. Blicken is an attorney in the state of Florida. He knows these things. Transparency, yeah. Disclosure in a lot of ways, goes a long way. There's all these things, because since I'm not a lawyer, I can't speak directly to what legal implications there might be. All I can say is there are legal implications and why you need to understand the rules that come within the that mostly American government, and there's different versions all over the place, but we're talking about North American and American here. There are rules set in place to where you must do certain things, and you should know those so that you don't get in trouble. But also the messages that we're specifically talking about, the messages that are sent through a communication space and saying, hey, if you see an hashtag ad there, what you understand as a community member is that there may be other things in play more than just that streamer has a passion and is talking about that particular product or thing. So that you have more knowledge into maybe what's going on. But yes, there are many different reasons why a hashtag ad is seen everywhere. And when people make fun of it, it doesn't really make any gosh darn sense, because it is a very serious thing, but it is one of those things that people think they're funny with, so I just kind of let it go. But yes. Unfortunately, I've seen cases where someone never used a product on stream or mentioned it on stream until they had gotten a sponsor for said product. What does that say about a community leader? I mean, that does often say, I mean, there's different things that can happen, right? There are people who don't say anything about any products until they are being sponsored by it. That's fine, right? That's okay. I don't really see any problem with that necessarily. That does mean that there is less trust maybe gained before that person started taking that sponsorship. So there's been less groundwork to happen, and there may be less activation happening within that sponsorship. But that doesn't necessarily, it's not a bad thing. We have to understand that. Somebody not talking about anything until after they've been sponsored does create a little bit of red flag and saying, hey, you never really talked about this before. How do I know you actually enjoy this? Maybe it's new. Maybe it's something they didn't really know about until then. Maybe it's something where they really did use it and love it in the background, but never talked about it on stream because they don't believe in free advertising, right? There's plenty of people out there that I think it's a fine idea. It's fine. There's no real problem with it. That understand or maybe want to stick it back to the people with all this money. Maybe they've had no money for their entire lives and are saying, well, if all these people are going to be greedy with all their money, well, maybe I'm going to be greedy with my content. Maybe I just want to be hilarious, and that's all I want people to understand, right? That's okay. We've definitely gone to a place with Twitch streaming and YouTube and people who do free content and a pay what you want, giving the people the idea that says, hey, if I talk about something, maybe they'll pay me for it. Or maybe I'll talk about whatever it is that I like, and then if it comes up later, it's because they saw that stream or they understood how much it was to get that going. Because you remember, there are many sponsorships out there that happen because of the things behind the scenes, right? There are people who have taken so many new things and new products directly as they hit the market for the first time. And not just because somebody just said, hey, do you want to sponsor with this? Great, here, take it. It usually comes with a lot of conversation. The people that you trust to make these good deals and to make these good decisions, you have to trust that they've also taken the time to research what it was, to be given the information that they needed in order to say yes to a sponsorship like this. Now, again, I said you got to understand and you got to trust, but you really don't have to do any of those things, right? The whole reason for hashtag ad communication wise is so that you don't have to do any of that. It's so that you are given the option to say, well, this person's being sponsored by it, so how can I trust it? That is a valid question. It's the completely valid question. How can I trust this person if the person is being sponsored by the thing they're promoting? How can I? Well, usually it comes down to, well, have you been able to trust them in the past? What is your sort of ground reputation with them? What sort of things have you talked about before? Like, what have you heard from them? Have you been able to use products that they've recommended before? And maybe they've never recommended anything before, but this is the first time, and who knows, right? Who knows? Maybe it's something that you're interested in and you just want to take a chance on it. What does that do every single time, right? That every single time that happens, that does something. That gets the trust meter to, go up or down in any way, shape, or form. Right? If I take a chance on something, this person's never really steered me wrong, never really steered me right either. But let me take a chance on this. It takes you from neutral to either good or bad, right? No matter what. So, again, it comes down to, what does a community leader do? What does a community leader do in this industry? Well, a community leader pretty much sways people on that product, right? If somebody's being honest about something, because I'll tell you right now, in every one of my contracts for sponsorships, I'll more than likely have to negotiate it, but often it's just put in there and saying, I will be 100% honest with how I feel about this, right? If I don't like it, because maybe I've done my research and I've looked into it and I've played it for a second, but I didn't play all the way to the end, and I say, oh man, I really didn't like that ending. I really like what's happening there. We're totally fine. Everything's okay. The activation may have happened. All the things were perfectly in line with the contract. Everything happened. But you were able to not be in trouble by saying your honest opinion. And that is what gained the trust of your community. If it came down to people saying, hey, I personally am okay with this ending, and this person doesn't agree with it, that's fine. But I know that I can trust this person because they were able to be honest with me. You learn that over time throughout the people that you come with. Now, nothing is global, right? None of these opinions or anything about anybody is global at all. It takes a little bit of work to understand a little bit about everybody. But it also is very easy to lose somebody's trust by lying once. You lie once about something. Hey, hashtag ad, I really love this thing. This is awesome. This is the best product in the world. When it turns out that you really hated it and just took $1 million to say that. What does that mean? That means every time there's a hashtag ad, you lose that trust. And if you have less people actually clicking on your thing because your trust meter goes down, 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 well then, who's going to sponsor you after that? Dude, we just paid you $1 million. You said a thing. Great. Nobody bought our product. Why is that? You have 10 million followers on Twitter. How come not a single person bought our product? It's very unlikely, but how come nobody bought our product? Well, because your product's crap. Probably because your product's crap. Well, then the sponsor's probably not going to get mad at you saying the product's crap. The sponsor's probably going to get mad at the fact that you took that sponsorship and you took that money when you thought it was crap. Nobody's going to trust you either way. You're kind of screwed both ways. So as a community leader, you have to kind of see it both ways. And from the industry's perspective and from the sponsor's perspective, you have to be able to understand that, right? If you don't write in the contract, or you don't put, because the whole honesty part of the contract goes both ways. If you don't write in the contract that the person has to be honest And whatever it is that they say, then not only are they contractually required to be honest, but also you may get a better benefit out of that because people will know more about your product based on whatever it is that the person says. Now, there's obviously rules and guidelines to not, disparaging it profusely, but, a lot of these things go all kinds of different ways. Anyway, I don't know what question I was answering, but I think we got somewhere. I don't even remember what I was talking about. What started the whole thing, I should say. We had a big Bloggergate thing. We had a big Bloggergate thing. It was disclosure back in the 2009, 2010-ish. It was a huge ordeal with bloggers not disclosing it for free things. Yeah, that was kind of what started the whole conversation about a year or two ago about hashtag ad with streamers. Was a lot of the examples that they had were from bloggers back in the day. Now, hopefully right now, they're trying to figure out how to re-language that towards streamers and YouTubers, but I don't think they've done that yet. They're working on it, I believe. Profits and income are two different things, though. Transparency. Profits and income are two different things. Well, it's clear. It's important to be clear about that too. What happened? We good? We good? Okay. It's an accident one day. Oh my god. So my parent called me. That's what my parents called me. What is happening? Did anyone see Ninja's McDonald's sweepstakes post yesterday? Was a tweet looked like a legal contract. The tweet looked like a legal contract? I did not see this. Hold on. We're gonna bring this here. So, got my McD order through Uber Eats with $0 delivery today to celebrate National Video Game Day. McD and Uber Eats are giving someone my special gaming setup. Share the meal you'd want with McDonald's hashtag McDonald delivery and hashtag sweepstakes plus tag me. Okay, weird. They probably tried to fit a whole lot into 140 characters. To enter for a chance to win. Hashtag add hashtag add rules and replies. Hold on. Hey Merlin, what's up, dude? Let's look at this real quick. Hashtag add, okay. So then it shows the sweepstakes, description, all that stuff. Okay. I mean, I guess you probably are required to. I don't even think you're required to post that, but it's required to be somewhere. Probably. Expires at 11:55 Eastern, 7/8/19. The offer is valid on for. Okay, so it's a big old McDonald's spent a lot of money to have him tweet something like that. He was already partnered with Uber Eats, but this is probably a different activation on top of that. Interesting. A lot of stuff happening there. There's a lot of stuff happening there. What happens with is it weird? The first thing I looked for and noticed is hashtag ad and thought Travis Schreifer and post cubicle Kyle would approve. Probably content creators who talk about legal recourse. And then a bunch of toxicity in the comments. Anyway, what does that say? What does that say for somebody who, what does that say for somebody who is attempting to lead their community? Well, one, it says that that person took a promotion from McDonald's and Uber Eats. Now, does that mean that that person eats those things or indulges in those things? Not necessarily. It does mean that they do promote it and they do condone those things, or else they wouldn't take those promotions. But that's the whole reason kind of for hashtag ad anyway, because there's probably no legal stance in saying that I have told my community that I do all these things, right? There's nothing that says that. That's exactly what the hashtag ad gets rid of, right? It gets rid of recourse and saying that, oh, this person does all these things, which means that since they're okay, I must be okay. No, that's not what that means. That just means that they've been paid for it, and that it is up to you to make the decision on whether or not that you believe that this person is telling the truth or not. No, because you're not going to see the contract, right? You're not meant to see the contract. There's nothing that says that you're going to see exactly what Ninja signed. It is going to say that you've seen what Ninja agreed to. He agreed to say these things, right? Everything in that tweet is something he agreed to say. Those are his words. And if even if he didn't write it, he did condone to the words that came out in that tweet. No matter what, that is, it's under his name. It's under his entity. It is his thing, right? That is absolutely his. Everything else, we don't know. We're never going to know. We're not meant to know. It's not our job to know. Our job is to make our own decision based on what we see here. So what does that mean? That means that whether or not Ninja was attempting to get his community to buy these things or utilize these things, he is saying that he does condone it, and he says it's there. I'm being used as an advertising platform, and if you want to use it, go ahead. They're paying me to do so, etc., etc., etc. Right? Does that make sense? By the way, you guys can ask questions if you want. That's why you shouldn't take a sponsorship for the sake of it. The potential long-term damage to your stream outweighs a one-time gain. I mean, yeah, that's often the truth. So we were talking about this with GuardianCon and whatnot. Like there's a lot of things that somebody can take and say, hey, you took the partnership with St. Jude Play Live because you wanted to look like an angel, and you wanted to up your social currency. You wanted to gain social currency, become socially currency rich, right? Somebody could say that, but it takes the actions and long-term decisions to be able to say that that wasn't the truth. You have to paint that picture with very, very, very fine strokes, right? You have a broad stroke thing that says, hey, we are we are helping the wonderful kids at St. Jude by having by getting all these people together to donate to a great cause. That's the broad stroke, right? But we have to paint in these fine little details and say, well, we got you out here to come to this convention. You know, we take certain money for this thing. We take certain money for this thing. There's nothing being hidden, but all your donations go directly to them. We don't even touch it. We have no, Tiltify handles all this, blah, 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 blah. And so these are fine little details that you have to put all up in your painting as you make that sculpture, that painting, that landscape, that whatever it is. A broad stroke can get you in trouble if you just leave it like that. But it takes a lot of work to be able to get a lot of these long-term repercussions out of the way, so you don't have to deal with them because they're taken care of in a positive way, you know what I mean? In some way, shape, or form. Yeah, thanks for hanging out, Blake, and I appreciate it, man. Does that make sense? Hold on. So what? It's questions. Next? Or it's pick. Yeah. Dorkableem, with GuardianCon becoming GCX, is it maintaining the relationship with St. Jude? Well, I will answer under my the authority I have to answer it, which isn't a whole lot. But yes, the answer is yes, they are. That's probably the extent at which I will talk about for that. Yes. Nothing has really changed in that department. The people at Rare Drop and GCX will be continuing to support everything that they've supported before. Does that make sense? Okay. Just curious? Yeah, sounds good. What is a community leader's role in cons? You just went to GC and TwitchCon is coming up. What should your time be spent on? What should your objectives be? Well, again, that's one of those things that says it depends. It depends on what kind of community leader you want to be. So, it also comes down to everything you do is a decision of a community leader, right? If you have a community, you have no choice but to be that leader, right? Now, you can either lead by example, you can lead by dictation, you can lead by many different things, but you are always making a decision. Now, there are many things you can do to strengthen your community. There are many things you can do to tell a message to your community, right? Hey, I'm going to be hanging around the convention. Come say hi to me or don't. It's all good. I'll just be there. What does that say? What message does that send to your community? It sends that you don't really care to do too many things live, right? That's not really your bag, baby. That's not really your thing. But you have, let's say you don't really do much outside of that, and you go home at the end of the convention, and what does it say? It probably means that you wanted to see the people that would come up to you. It probably means that you wanted to see your other peers. Probably means that you have people that you're a fan of and want to go to. You know, that means many different things. Kara, I will feed you later. Go. But yeah, it comes down to all those different things, right? Depends on how you want to do it. Now, if you want to be a community leader that brings people together, well, you create a meetup, right? You say, hey, we're doing a meetup here. Come by. We really want you there. Or you, again, don't want to pressure people. So you say, hey, we're doing a community meetup. You come if you want. Or don't. It's all good no matter what. No pressure. Whatever. No matter what you say, you're sending those messages, right? So what is the question? What should your objectives be? Again, I'm going to ask you back. What type of community leader do you want to be? But your roles at a con comes down to how you want to dictate them. Your roles come to whatever you want it to be. That is 100% the actual answer. Whatever you want them to be, you can do. Just remember, so your role to yourself should always be, well, what message am I sending by doing this? What message am I sending by not doing this? What message am I sending by doing this specific thing, right? Well, if I have a signing and Twitch is putting it on, and I know and people know that they just asked me to do it, and maybe they're paying me to do it. What does that say? That says, well, you're only going to do things when you're getting paid for it. Now, that may not be the truth, but that may be what's going on, right? So, so whatever you have going on is going to be the decision that comes through. Yeah, it's not easy, right? And community leading is not easy. Being a community leader, like just being the leader and being the thing at the top, that's pretty easy, right? You just get a bunch of people together. Being the one that you want to be takes decision after decision after decision after decision. And how other companies see you and how your community sees you is in everything you do. That's why the easiest way to be a community leader is by being yourself. It's always that way. It's always been that way. It's why no matter what you're doing and whatever it is that whatever it is that's going on, your decisions make the difference, right? Your decisions make the difference. So let's kind of brainstorm some parts of like what would an objective be of a community leader that wants to maybe lead their community to interacting with each other. Hey, we're gonna go hang out and do this. We're gonna go do some. This is an idea I've had before. We're gonna go do some archery tag. Right? It costs this much money. All good. It's gonna cost like $50 a person. Probably less than that. I actually don't know. It happens here at this time on this date. Come by if you want to. We're really going to have a bunch of fun there. If it's not something that you like to do, just come by and have like a drink or two. Have some soda and have some lemonade out in the hot sun. It's gonna be great. We really would love to see you there. And if you're genuinely being honest about it and people know that you're being honest about it, either they don't show up because, well, they got something else that they have to do, or maybe they just don't really feel like that's their jam. I guarantee that if they want to be there with you, they don't have to like the thing you're doing. They'll just be there. You had me at. Actually, this is an idea I had for the first San Diego TwitchCon, but I never really found a good way to do it, so we never really went through with it. But yeah, I just wanted to do an archery tag event and have everybody that was part of our community, whether you wanted to, whether you have been part of your community or whether you're new, just come by and play a couple of games of archery tag, and then we go back to the convention and it's all good. Spend a few hours together and whatever. You don't even have to play archery tag. That's the point. The point is, we just want everybody together, right? That's what we want. We want everybody together. And that's all that matters. If you want your community to interact with each other and to grow stronger, right? If that's your job or that's your goal is to grow stronger, it doesn't matter what it is, just get everybody in one spot for a certain amount of time. What is archery tag? So it's paintball with bows and arrows, but like the arrows have like these big fluffy balls on the end, so they don't like stab you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. It's quite fun, and I would like to do it maybe this year. Maybe we'll get some people together and we'll just do it this year. Maybe we'll get a couple of things together and a couple of streamers together and get everybody's community and have some like tournaments and stuff. I think it'd be fun. I really do. And again, you don't have to actually take part in the actual event. You just have to be there. And once you're there, you have thus grown stronger with your community. I promise you that's the case. That's just one of the tactics. But there's also, like, again, finding ways to do meetups at booths, right? Because a lot of things like that don't really pay anyway, but they provide you with spaces to have a meetup, right? Corsair does it all the time. Logitech does it all the time. Hey, I'm doing a meet and greet at the Logitech booth. Come by, hang out. The reason people do that is, one, Logitech gets some advertising out of it, and you get a free meetup on the floor at the convention, which is prime real estate that somebody had to pay for that you don't have to, right? Because that's just kind of how it goes. It's a trade. It's a lot of trades. If you feel like you're being outweighed in your trade, like you're getting the short end of the stick with your trade, well, you ask for more, right? That's when you start to ask for payment. Hey man, I'm going to bring like 300 people there, and they're going to get a lot of eyeballs on your booth, and maybe even buy stuff from your booth. Maybe you send a little my way. Maybe that happens, you know? That by itself doesn't change your integrity on your community. Because no matter what, you're going to probably do a community meetup, but the location really doesn't matter to your community. It just matters that you guys do something. So if somebody really cares about you doing your meetup there, maybe that's when you say, hey, maybe I'll ask for a little bit more, or ask for something at all. That's different. Those things don't have anything to do with each other. No crossbows, Chef Hazmat. That is cheating. It's cheating. Absolutely, that's cheating. But yeah, things like that happen all the time, and when you're talking about, like I said, when you're talking about other communities and interacting with each other, the community leaders can pair up and do something bigger for each other. Like I said, something like this, if we had like myself and a few other communities pair up and do something together, that's legitimately a good way to do something. And you not only grow together with your community stronger, but you also kind of overlap other communities, and that's okay too. It does a benefit for everybody, right? You gain more friends, the streamers probably gain more fans, both ways, and everybody gets along, right? So those are some of the things you can do. All I can think about it is archery tag. Yeah. Yeah. Online things for people who hate the outdoors, doing things like selfie Sundays on Discord, which also includes pet selfies for those who don't want to show their face. Yes, in fact, in my Discord we have a show off your fur children section where we promote the fact that, actually we have a selfie section too, but the great thing about Discord is you can really have as many channels as you want, and whoever posts in whichever one, like, it just grows in strength together no matter how you do it. Does it make sense? She's trying to get my attention. You see her? Okay, are there any more questions? This is something that I think we only kind of scraped the surface of, and I think we can. Okay, let's talk about this. In the first like 7 weeks, 8 weeks, we're getting questions, or sorry, we're getting topics that are sort of based on general ideas, and sort of we're defining things for each other, defining special terms, and defining ways that we can communicate better together. Because as we get into the deeper, darker, weirder, special, I was gonna say specialer, but special, interesting, kind of strange topics, you guys will know that when I say community leaders, these are all the things that I mean. I can refer back to this episode. This is all building blocks, right? I don't plan on stopping this show anytime soon. So we got to start building things together. It's why you learn, algebra, then geometry, and then you learn calculus, and then you learn statistics, because each of those sets of things, they build on top of each other. That's kind of where we're getting to with explaining things so broadly here. I know that some of this may not make sense. I know that I'm all over the place, but the bigger piece to this is that some point down the line when we talk about something, I'll refer back to one of these things we talked about in these first like 7 or 8 weeks, and you'll be able to say, hey, I remember what Dan talked about. Now I'm on the same page as what he's talking about now. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Anyway, if nobody has any more questions, I'm going to get out of here. It's like 100 degrees in here. Again, this was supposed to be an hour-long show, and I made it an hour and a half. Doesn't matter. But for those that want to hang out with us and talk more about this, we will be in the Discord, discord.gg/StreamerSquare. You can ask any of those questions there. You can make anything happen. And remember that no matter what you're doing, this is only the beginning. Okay? Every time we do this, every time we go, you always have the freedom to ask whatever it is that you like. Because we will come together and find an answer for you. Whether it's something that is off the wall crazy and we have to go search for a couple days on that and get back to you later, or if it's something we can answer right off the top of our head, we'll give you something. We'll give you something. What's my cat's name? Her name's Kara, like Supergirl. Okay? So if you have anything, please come after me. Come ask me. Come get me. We'll be here. I'm going to go cool off. Okay? I'm going to go cool off. And then I'll be back on stream here, not here, but on my channel a little bit later tonight. We might play some Super Mario Maker and possibly some DayZ. Do some RPing, okay? If you guys want to come hang out, please do so. If not, all good. I appreciate it. My name is Dan Otage. I've been your host for Dan's Stream of Thought, because I am Dan. And please, stay positive, play more games, and read more comics. I love you all. See you guys next time. And have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye, everybody. See you.